Hi flower friends, and welcome to my garden. I've been working out here today, so if I look a little disheveled, you can understand why. But I've got my little fountain set up and some rearranging done in the secret cottage garden. But today what I wanted to do was I want to share with you planting sweet peas direct into the ground instead of potting them up first. So our weather has kind of leveled out. We may get a freeze between now and June, but I think these will be fine, and I can protect them if they start to grow, and I know about a freeze. I have fleece and etc. So that's all good. But these seeds I had put in this to pre-sprout because they're some I saved from last year, and I just wanted to make sure they were viable. And I got busy, forgot about them, and they have sprouted like crazy. So I'm going to have to plant them very carefully, make sure I get the root side down, the sprout side up. And if you're just planting, you can direct sow without pre-sprouting them. Don't think you have to do that. You don't have to soak them, sprout them, nothing. I just did that just to see what was going on with them. But normally I would, where they just starting to break the seed hull, and then I would just put them in the ground, and I don't have to worry about which side is up. They'll find up. But anyways, I'm going to plant one or some around the base of a rose. It can climb up the rose during the summer. It is a climbing rose, so the base sometimes gets a little bare. So for me, these are an heirloom variety. They do bloom during hotter spells of weather, and produce for me all summer. I have pictures of the last sweet pea post I did where I was potting them up in pots, and I showed you photographs of ones I picked in August, September, and even October. So it's completely possible to grow them through the summer. Okay, so let's go to our rose, which is over there beside the house, and plant these at its base. So here's our climbing rose. This is a Zephyrine drone, and I'm just going to clear away some of this debris a little bit, not too much. And it doesn't matter where I sow them because they will just climb up the rose, and I will secure them to the rose if they don't secure themselves. Okay, so what's going to be tricky is making sure this is the sprout and this is the root. I only want them a little bit down under there. I want the tippy top showing. Now if I was planting the seeds, I would just plant them 1/2 inch deep. Now this one is sprout is grown up. I might cover that one a little bit. I shouldn't say might, I did cover it a little bit. Look at that long old root on that. I don't want it really to bend much, so I'll just go ahead and I'm going to cover these with a bit of wire, either that or some cloth, so that critters don't nip them off. Let me see. Okay, there's the root and there's the top. So there we are. Those ones are at the base of that rose. And I could come plant more later, and I'll remember that I need to put my gopher trap here. So there's the one at the rose. I'm planting them. I want to plant them around the feet of this little obelisk. These are all my tulips, and I just think I have 2 varieties of tulips in here. But you see my seeds here. These ones I've only soaked 24 hours. They're not like the other ones that were sprouted a little bit, but they are swelled up. So this soil is pretty dry, so I'm going to have to make sure I bring in a little more, some vermiculite. And I'm just planting like 1/2 inch deep, if that. Now the reason I will put vermiculite is it holds the moisture. We aren't supposed to get rain really next week at all. So this is already kind of dried out, or very dried out. in the shallow area. So they will need to be watered daily because this top 1/2 inch dries quickly. So you notice I'm doing 1, 2, 3. I have them about 4 inches apart. I could do them a little closer, but this will be just fine. And they'll climb this obelisk and be sweet smelling. Now I don't have anything else planted yet for in the this planter, so I don't know if I'm going to do petunias, etc. yet. Last year I had, excuse my shadow, dahlias in pots in this area. I didn't have this fire ring here. I think I just need one right there. And this color, I'll show you the package a little bit later. It's called Beaujolais. It's a very deep burgundy red, and it'll be very, very pretty. And it's an heirloom Spencer type, which is highly scented. So it ought to be just fantastic right here. So I went and got the vermiculite. Well, it's actually some vermiculite, a little bit of potting soil, and excuse Silver. What all of this does, as I said before, is retains a little bit more moisture since we're not going to be getting any measurable rain, and the days have been pretty sunny and warm. So I'll get my hose and I will water that all in. I just wanted to share with you. So right here is like an old freezer basket that I've kept a hang of, and I have it covering an area that I planted sweet pea seeds, and that will keep the marauding birds from pecking off the fresh shoots. Once they get a little bit taller, maybe 3 or 4 inches, I can take it off and not be so worried. It's just when they're real tiny that they really like the shoots. So I haven't had any trouble with slugs. If I notice any slug trails, I'll put out slug bait. I use something like Sluggo or whatever that is safe for pets and humans. So, and it'll protect the plants that it is around, because they'll eat the Sluggo bait or do whatever with it, and then they won't get my plants. So that is how I protect them. You'll notice it's nice and wet. I watered it in well with a watering wand. That gives a gentle spray so it doesn't wash them away. And when they have started growing, I will share with you, and we'll see how they make it to June. Make sure there's no heavy freezes. And that, my friends, is how I direct sow sweet pea seeds. Most of the time, this is how I plant my sweet peas. I don't start them in pots ahead of time like I showed how to do that the last sweet pea video I did. Because I have had so much better success with direct sowing. As long as you protect them, keep them watered, they don't have the transplant shock. Sweet peas are one of those things that don't really like being transplanted. They will grow. I tested it last year. I did some in pots and some I direct sowed. And then when I put the potted ones out, the direct sown ones, even though they were a little later getting started, they caught up very quickly. But what I noticed is they were much healthier throughout the year. So, oh yeah, I was going to show you my sweet pea that I started in the fall and how it's doing now. It's kind of surrounded by weeds, but I'll take care of those in a minute. But I'm going to show you what it looks like and how I clean it up. It's in the direct sun, so it's going to be kind of bright. Okay, so this is the sweet pea that was sown last fall. And like I said, it's surrounded by weeds. So here's a portion of it. I need to get a trellis to put it on, or an obelisk. Maybe I'll build a small obelisk to put it on, because all my metal ones are being used. I'm going to cut out any dead. So, yeah. It's looking a little ragged, and that whole shoot isn't ragged. Don't be afraid to trim it back. This one, it's looking a little well worn and beat up. Let's cut it back to there. Now that one's broken. see what we got to work with here. Let's see, how does that look? It looks like it needs to be trimmed. This won't hurt it at all. In fact, it'll give it a little oomph to fill back in. Let's see, these leaves are okay. Well, the more you trim, the more you see you need to trim. Okay, so these right here are all weeds. Fortunately, the soil is really soft and you can get them roots and all. I don't know what this weed is called, but I seem to have plenty of it this time of year. And I just have to go in and carefully weed it out. This thing, I don't know what that is. Let's see. That's coming in the ground there. So I got to be very careful in getting that weed out of there. This is larkspur, but I don't want it right there, so we'll remove that. I have a bazillion larkspur coming up, so it's no great loss removing that one or two. Okay, this is, see, it's broken right there. I didn't notice it till now, so we'll just nip that off. That one's pretty woody, so we'll just nip it off. And we'll keep this watered, and we'll see how, if this makes it or not. Right here, I will make sure to get all these weeds around it. This is a viola here, a volunteer viola, or Johnny Jump Up. And also, I'll go get some red fir bulk mulch. It's red fir bark mulch. And put it around here so it'll hold the moisture in the soil better. We've been having wonderful temperatures. They're in the 60s, nights in the low 40s. Sometimes it gets down to like 38, but it's still nice enough. The soil's warming up just fine. So everything seems to be flourishing. It's been just right for them. So there we go. There we have our sweet pea that sprouted last fall, and I let it go and see how it would overwinter. It looked pretty beat up, and we'll see how, if it rejuvenates after giving it a good prune. And so it can grow fresh. Focus on getting them roots and put on some new foliage, and maybe give us some bright, pretty blooms sooner than the others. So I hope you enjoyed planting sweet peas with me, and you join me in the next video, and I will make sure and update you. In fact, right now I'm going to do an update on some other videos I've done, like my begonias. I sprouted the begonias, and they're doing gorgeous. I can't wait to see them bloom. They're going to be just fantastic, and more. So I also need to do a tour. It's a little messy, but maybe you like messy. All right, I'll see you in the next video.